Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to Auntie Lizzie's channel. I am so excited today because I have a very special friend, a reliable person that I have known for 1 year, the secrets behind my YouTube channel. This is a man that always encourages me. Beginning, I will send him all my videos and he will tell me what is wrong with it. I want you to welcome Alex Alberan.
Awesome. Hey,
Alex, I
thank
hope
you.
I pronounced that right.
You
Welcome
did.
to my channel.
Absolutely. No, thank you so much for having me on and for the kind words, and looking forward to speaking with you.
Yes, I have been waiting patiently for this time, and I'm just so excited that you were able to get some time for us to do this. So,
Absolutely.
Alex,
Absolutely.
I really appreciate you being here. How are you going to describe yourself to us?
I like it. It's ambiguous. I like ambiguity. So I would say if I had to put a label on what I do, just with my business and helping clients, I've had my company. I started my company on the night that I graduated from high school, essentially, which was in May 2016. Right now it's April 2024. So I've been in business for about almost 8 years. And really, what I help people do is, if you want to look at it broadly, it's marketing and sales. That's usually, if you look at the statistics, 80% of small businesses within 5 years die. Everybody knows that statistic, but it's because most people, just like with their money, with their business, they do things ordinarily, but they expect extraordinary results. Right?
Right.
If you think about it like that, people start a business, they don't market, they don't do YouTube, they don't do social media. They're like, that's not my thing. I don't really do marketing. And I'm like, well, you don't do business then. So what I've helped thousands of clients, right? Because if you have in your business, if you have the right marketing, if you know how to get attention, if you know how to get leads and customers, then you'll learn how to make revenue and then make money, right? Because you can have the best product, the best service, but if nobody knows about it, then nobody's going to pay for it and nobody's going to benefit from it. So that's what I've been helping clients do. I'm a marketing consultant, and I've been doing it for, again, at this point, about 8 years. I've helped thousands of people. I've had, millions and millions of views on my channel, on, my videos and everything like that, just providing free value. And so that's what I do.
That is really awesome and very important because when it comes to marketing, I'm learning the hard way, and since I just started a new business, a cleaning business, and I realized that marketing is one of the most important things to do. So you just got it right on the dot. So what made you a millionaire?
Hey, this is Alex Alberan. I just bought a Rolls-Royce Ghost.
Did you just get up one day and became so famous? Or is there anything?
I'm not famous at all. Number one. Number two, I appreciate it though. Number two, if it was like a light switch like that, everybody would be a millionaire, right? I think you've probably seen that picture online where it's the guy, looks like he's mining for diamonds, and he's mining and mining, and he's right at the cusp. There's a little piece of, just earth. If he hits it one more time, he's going to have all these diamonds, but he turns around and he walks away. That's what most people do on their way to having a business that really makes millions of dollars, right? They have the skill set, they have the right business model, but they don't give it enough time. That's usually most people's issue, is that they stop right when they're at that point of making that final breakthrough with their marketing or with their product or just with their brand that can take it from kind of nothing to something, from maybe 50,000 a year to 5 million a year, and they turn around and they quit. I'm blessed in that I launched my business when I didn't have a lot of expenses, right? I even sold my car to fund my business, but I didn't have a lot of expenses. I didn't have short-term needs, essentially, but I also was disciplined, right? I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, I didn't spend money, I didn't go on vacation. So everything I did was to build my business, but it allowed me time to figure things out, right? Because you can start a business and you don't know what you're selling, you don't know how to sell it, you don't know how to market, you don't really know who's your ideal customer, like the technology, the software. There's so many things that you need to have in place to really have a successful business, and it just takes time. And most people, they don't give themselves enough of a runway where they give themselves 6 months or 12 months. And I mean, my business for the first 4, even 5 years was kind of like a little mini roller coaster. It didn't have huge peaks and valleys. It was growing. It was, 100,000 a year, 250,000 a year. But then seemingly overnight, it went from that to making millions of dollars. Like last year, at the end of last year, I was pushing some months, 750,000 a month, which for
Oh,
me,
wow.
5 years ago, I would have thought you were joking. I'm like 750,000 in a month. Like that's good for back then.
You're like,
I mean, I would have done
no.
that in like, 5 years of the first 5 years of my business. I probably made that much in revenue, but I was doing that on a monthly basis, and I'm doing, more than that now. But I think it's something where most people don't give themselves realistically enough time to figure out what they're doing and to become good, because you're not making that level of money if you're not the best at what you do, or damn near the best. So a lot of people don't have the time, and they haven't put in the time to get the skill set to make that level of money, because you're not making that much money unless you're making an impact on a big scale, right? So you can have a business that's doing 5,000 a month, 10,000 a month. You probably have 10 clients, 20 clients. But if you're doing almost $1 million a month, you have probably hundreds of clients coming in a
Right.
month that you have to service. You have to deliver results to them and deliver customer service, and have the team to have that foundation in place to handle those customers. And so it was the opposite of overnight, though, to answer your question. And I think for most people watching this, they want to start a business, and they kind of, even if they say they're patient, they have that little seed in their head. They're like, oh, but like I'm patient to a certain extent. Like I still kind of want that
Right,
overnight
right.
success. But that's why I share the reality. Like, hey, I posted a video. I got a Rolls Royce. I have a G-Wagon, and it took me almost 8 years to get there, of sacrifice and hard work. A lot of people look at the end reward of entrepreneurship and they get attracted to that. And that's great, but you have to love the game enough to
Right.
go through the bad times, to stick through the times where you don't even know what you're doing. Right? You don't know, am I good enough to do this? Like a lot of the uncertainty and self-doubt comes in, but if you keep pushing forward and you give it enough time, then the end rewards become possible. Most people, though, they keep digging, but they just don't give themselves that runway to really see their true potential, and they just want it now. It's that kind of, instant ramen society that we live in. So that's my advice for people, is that, I'm definitely not overnight. I'm young, you're young, we're all young. But I think people look at what I'm doing and they're like, okay, like he's so young, he must have done it in the last few years. But I mean, I've been doing this since I was 18 years old, and I'm going to be 26 next month. And so 8 years in entrepreneurship is like dog years. So really it's like 8 years times, 3, or whatever quotient you want to look at. So I've been doing this for quite a while in the same exact business to do what I'm doing today.
So consistency, timing is what I can hear, and hard work, not giving up.
And
But
luck.
one of the
Everything
things,
is about luck, for sure. To a certain extent, people that are very successful, they understand that luck is a big part of it. Like how I meet, partners of mine or people that have promoted me. Obviously, I can put the work in to make myself lucky, but there is a certain extent, like, hey, being blessed in a time of technology. Like my business model was not possible 50 years ago, the way I'm doing it now. Like I've, again, reached millions of people on YouTube from the comfort of my home, whereas back in the day, you'd have to go and speak across the country to speak to 1 million people. It would have taken you 10 years. I mean, I have some videos that have gotten 1 million views, and it took me 15 minutes to create. So again, just being lucky to be born in this time, and lucky to met some of the great people that I've met in my business. And so it's definitely hard work and everything that I just mentioned. But yes, you can make your own luck, but you have to say, you can also say, hey, I'm a lucky person. Like I think I'm a great lucky person. Luck just finds me. But if some people say, oh, I'm not lucky, I've never gotten the good breaks, and if you keep telling yourself that, then you probably won't be lucky. So you can control it to a certain extent. But luck is a big part of it.
You are what you say to yourself, right?
Absolutely.
And I think also in the society, we have all this microwave food that you just put in and there you go, you get the result.
Right.
So it's kind of difficult. I see your end result, but most of us didn't know how you started,
Mhm.
right? Can you just tell us a little bit so how much you started your business with? Did you have a rich parent that gave you like, $1 million to start?
Right.
Or
Just a
did they,
little $1 million loan, not a big deal,
it's
you
all
know?
like, oh yeah, just take this, Alice. So tell us a little bit just to encourage someone who didn't have anything. You
Mhm.
said you sold your car. How will this encourage someone to know that, what, no matter what, I think there is hope somewhere. If someone did it, I can. Can you just tell us a little bit about that side?
Absolutely. So number one, my parents were not rich, are not rich. May never be, who knows. I grew up on food stamps, right? Like I grew up in a tiny kind of 2-bedroom apartment, not a lot of financial stability. But again, I look at that as a blessing now that I'm a bit older because I'm so hungry, right? Like even on vacation, I'm enjoying the vacation, but I'm also like I'm itching to get back, into the office and working. So that's a blessing in itself, and I'm lucky that I grew up with the adversity because at a certain point, once you have the adversity, there's get backs. Like if there's setbacks, you have that to teach you adversity and to how to really value money. And as you start to grow, you don't waste it. I think people that grew up rich, they didn't choose that, and hey, they're probably glad that they did, but to a certain extent they won't have the hunger of someone like you or I who had to fight for every single thing that they built themselves. Like we were discussing, I sold my car. It was a Mazda Speed 6 2007. I sold it for $5,000, and that was really my startup capital with my business. And so yeah, I was going to college, I had some student loans, I was living at home as well, and so I was helping out with some rent and kind of electricity bills. But practically, because I can tell you, yeah, like just be positive and it's going to work out. But practically, you have to think of how can I conserve as much savings as possible? And how can I also conserve how much I'm spending? Because again, if you're starting a business and you don't have a lot of money, you're not going to go buy a McDonald's that has a proven business model for $1 million. You're probably not going to work with even someone like me who charges a good amount of money. You're going to have to figure things out on your own when using YouTube for free. But to make that happen, you need time. How do you get time in a business? You have money in the bank. That gives you money so that even if your business isn't making an income, you can still invest your time to get the skills to grow your business eventually while you're still living. But also you have to limit your drinking, your smoking, your vacations, because those can go, $5,000 here for a vacation. A night on the town can be $300. I mean,
Uh-huh.
that when I was starting out, $300 was my monthly food bill. Like I was going out to eat at Starbucks. I was going out to eat at McDonald's, at IHOP, like Pollo Tropical. I was not going to restaurants or anything fancy. And so you have to look at how can I conserve the money I have in the bank? How can I make that last as long as possible? How do I conserve my spending? Because then you give yourself time, again, to get the skills to actually grow a business. And so that's what I did with my business. And of course, as you make money, you don't spend it. That's the mistake
Yeah.
that everybody makes, right? When they make their first, 50K, 100K in the bank, they spend it on a car. They spend it on new furniture. And it's that somewhat instant gratification. They feel like they've made it, they've arrived. But what if your business starts to slow down? Do you have the money in the bank to still keep growing it, right? So I waited. My gratification was delayed, right? Like now, 8 years in, yes, upgrading to get a house, like getting the nice cars and living the lifestyle, quote unquote. But it's because I saved so much money that these things I'm doing now, I don't even have to think about them. They're not putting a dent in my situation. Whereas a lot of people, they make a little bit of money and they instantly start blowing it. And it's a huge chunk of their income, a huge chunk of their savings going towards things that won't make them money, right? Even when I was making like hundreds of thousands of dollars, sometimes in a month, I was still spending $3,000 a month on living, like 4,000 a
Mm.
month on living. I was not buying cars. I had a nice Tesla, but those aren't that expensive. They're like $400 a month leases, right? Free charging sometimes. And so even as I was making hundreds of thousands a month, I was still saving so that now I can make these expenditures on liabilities, things that aren't going to make me money, but I don't have to think about it and I can really get what I want, right? A lot of people, they do the instant gratification. They buy the car that they want at that time, but then they'll never get their dream car. They'll never get the Ferrari or the Lambo, whatever their dream car is, because they're not going to have enough delayed gratification. So that's my advice. Again, I can tell you to think positively, but that's not going to get you far. Yes, you have to think positively, but practically, if you want to start a business, you don't know what the heck you're doing yet. You need to buy yourself time to do the research, to invest time into your business so that you become valuable. Right? Like a lot of people jump into a business and want to make big money, but you don't have an edge. Like, why would someone pay you to be their real estate agent or to be their advisor or financial person when you don't have a track record? So you got to look at things somewhat realistically and think, hey, I'm going to put money in the bank. I'm going to lower my spending. No vacations, no weddings. Like, you don't go to weddings. Save as much as possible so that you're investing your time into growing your skill set, growing your mindset, gaining the knowledge to actually make money in your business. Then keep saving that money until you have, overnight millions of dollars in the bank. Then you could spend money on a house or cars because it's a small percentage of what you're making and what you have saved, which is a hard thing to do, but I did it, so you can do it as well.
That is really awesome. And I like the way you started with your foundation, because sometimes, especially young generation, they think, oh, I suffered a lot, so they look at that negatively. Instead of looking at the positive side. Like you said, you and I came into the country, I've slept on the floor, in my first apartment. My kids were in a air mattress with my husband. But now I look back and it encourages me to keep going because there is light, on the mountain, and you are looking at it and there is hope. You also talk about lack and blessing. So I wanted to ask you if you think networking contributes to where your business is. Because you can have the lack, but if you don't have people around you, or if you are not with the right people at the right time, will that lack or blessing, how will you connect that?
You're right. If you don't have the right people in your business, you can't do everything by yourself. Right. So a lot of my success is because I have the right people around me, in terms of people that made introductions to help me grow my business, or even people that are on my team that work for me and work with me. So yeah, you can't do this by yourself. If you think you're going to do it by yourself, then you're not going to get far. And a lot of people, they get greedy once they start making some money, who they partnered with before. Then they start to kind of try to change the deal or change the terms, or not try to get them involved. But I'm like, yeah, I'd rather have a slice of a huge pie, of a huge business. I don't need to make all the money, because most people who have that mindset, it's so just kind of like that scarcity mindset of I need everything, like I need to hold on to it. And yeah, you can hold on to the whole pie, but it's going to be a personal pizza pie. It's going to be tiny. Whereas I'd rather have a huge XL sized business, and I'm sharing pieces with them, I'm sharing pieces with them, because we all can win. There's more than enough to go around.
Just like the apple, you don't want to eat it all. You want to share that. So with all how do you get the right team members or the right people to be around you?
So number one, you have to become someone worthy of a great team and great partners. Right? I think a lot of the time we're in this society where everybody's like an A+. Everybody gets a trophy. Right. And it's something where you have to also be good enough to say, like, hey, I'm starting my business. I can't pay you a lot right now, but believe in me, trust me, we're going to make this happen. And unless you can really with certainty say that to employees or partners, then if they're not going to believe in you, if you don't really believe in yourself. But the only way to really believe in yourself is to put in the work, to get the skill sets, and have the confidence to say, hey, I'm going to deliver. I'm going to make this happen with 100% certainty, because people will buy into that, but they can also tell if you're just BSing, because how do you have certainty if you've never done it or put in the work to deserve saying that? I think a lot of people just want to have confidence that's unearned, right? Like they just jump into a business and they want people to believe in them, which I appreciate and I understand that. But you also want to say, hey, even though I'm starting out, I've done the work. I'm working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, doing the research, trying to figure this out. And I think people, they can tell who's really putting in the work and who hasn't.
Right.
Which again kind of comes into the whole like entitlement in this society, and everybody's great, so you should have a great team. You should have a great team. You know, it's like Oprah, you should get a car. You get a car. People think, oh, I should just deserve to have this. I'm entitled to a 7-figure business. And it's like, no, you're not whatsoever. Like you need to be able to say, hey, I can deliver value and results. And to do that, you need to put in the work to have the skill set to have not just the team, but the actual skills to deliver the results.
So it's just not the hard work. You are also putting the research, you are learning, and you are also putting your hand, or you are also doing the work. So everybody will know that you know what you are talking about, right? Did I get that right?
Exactly. Right. Because you can't have true confidence if you haven't put in the work. You
Right.
can have faux confidence. You can look, but that's when people look cocky. Because people can sense that, because the people can talk about, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, but it's like, what have you done? Like, what's your track record? Where are you getting this magical sense of confidence from? And that's where a lot of the time people try to just be overconfident. They oversell on things that they can't deliver.
That's why I heard this saying that don't sell yourself, but provide service.
Mm-hmm.
And then you automatically be selling yourself. If you look back all these 8 years, what will you have changed?
Nothing. Besides maybe thinking bigger. But I'm saying practically I wouldn't have changed anything, because everything worked out the way it was supposed to. I don't think I would have been able to handle the success and money that I'm touching right now. I wouldn't have been equipped to handle it 8 years ago or 6 years ago, right? Because I earned my money slowly and gradually, so I was able to manage it. It's kind of like you see some famous people that go from like poor to super wealthy, or athletes. It was too quick. They went from nothing to everything.
Yeah.
They didn't have that time to say, okay, go make 250,000, then go back to 100,000, then go to 500, then go to 400. Because as you start to make more money, you make mistakes on a smaller scale, number one, but you also value it, because you're like, okay, I made a lot of money last year, I'm making less this year. Okay, let me not just assume I'm going to be successful forever. But if you have no money and then you have everything, you make a lot of money all of a sudden. For a lot of people, it's a bad equation. So I'm thankful that it was gradual. It was a bit of a roller coaster. Now it's going really well, but now I know how to handle this level of money, not waste it. But I would, if I change anything, I would just think bigger earlier. A lot of people think they need permission to be successful. But I thought big, but I think I could have definitely thought bigger. But again, I don't want to change anything, because where I'm at now is exactly where I'm supposed to be.
So how will you advise someone who is just starting, especially online business? I know you are all into the e-commerce, and I'm actually working with you as well.
Mm-hmm.
So how will you encourage someone? Because I know maybe the first 1 year, nothing might happen. And it's hard for someone to, think, oh no, I'm not going to put my money there for 1 whole year and nothing happens. So how will you kind of advise and encourage someone? And then also to some of the people you are working with, just encouraging them to be kind of like patient and you know what you are doing. Just something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say if you're going to do anything, again, do it big. Don't start a business to try to make, $500 a month. Because the opportunities that are out there online, they're so scalable, they're so big that if you start a business, you want to say, okay, let me start this business and aim way higher than you initially expected, because it's possible, it's doable, but only if you think, okay, I'm going to aim there. But if you don't even know where you're aiming, if you're aiming at $500 here, $1,000 there, you're going to have a $500 here and there business, right? So you want to think big, but again, when you think big, think long term, because a lot of people think big. Oh, I'm going to make 100,000 a month. I want to make 50,000 a month, 500,000 a month. But I ask them, so like, when do you want to do that? What's your time frame? They're like, in the next 90 days. And I'm like, okay, so you're thinking big, but you're really thinking,
But
get
yeah,
rich quick and scarcity, because scarcity wants it now. They can't wait 5 years. They can't wait 3 years. So I'd say, hey, think big, but also thinking big is a synonym of long-term thinking. But if you want to think short-term and scarcity, then yeah, think short-term. But you're not going to make any real money. So if you want to make real money, you have to think big, set big goals, but also think, okay, it's going to take time to make those happen.
how are you able to handle all the negative things that comes with making money? Because I know for sure you hear some comments, you hear things. Mm-hmm. How are you able to handle it?
I don't personally get offended, because at this point in my life, I look at, if someone takes the time out of their day to look at a video, maybe watch it a few times and leave a negative comment, it's almost like what's going on in their life. I kind of feel bad for them.
Yeah.
And I have fun with my haters. I love my haters. Sometimes they're pretty funny though. Like some of the things they come up with, I like it back and I comment. I'm like, that was pretty funny. But sometimes it's just a little like out of this world. Like some of the comments they come up with, and sometimes you just feel bad for them, because you're like, is that really the best use of your time? Like if you didn't like the video or that specific point, I don't, it's your opinion. I don't really care. But no, sometimes they're funny. Sometimes I'm like, come on, you gotta get a hobby, get a friend, Like I don't take it personally, because I only care what I think and what my fiance thinks. Anybody beyond that, especially if it's not positive or constructive, then it's more of an issue with them and something that they need to deal with. But yeah, when you start making more money, there are issues that come up where you start to think and you start to get into scarcity mode. Like, I need to protect what I've made, instead of thinking, oh, let's just keep growing it. So that's a concern. But again, that's why it would be more of a concern if I went from making $0 to making millions. That's where you have no idea how to manage money, because again, you don't have any contrast. You went from making no money to making millions, so you don't have an idea of how to manage it,
right.
What your investment ratio should be, stocks, bonds, how much cash you need, what's your runway, what's your monthly expenses, and you don't have any idea of that. So luckily, I've gradually grown my business to where that's not really an issue. But I love my haters. Again, sometimes they say stuff and I'm like, that was funny. So.
And whilst you were talking, it just occurred to me that sometimes in life, we have to go through the process, right? There is time for everything. So there's time for you to start, time for you to enjoy, and all that. So now, how is your typical day like?
Typical day.
When you wake up in the morning, what do you do first?
So I'll usually wake up at about 7. I'll wake up, I'll walk our dog, and when I come back, this is my setup here. So I have my laptop, I'll have coffee. So I'm usually in the office by 8, and then usually done at about right now it's 7:17. So usually done about 7:30, 8 o'clock. But of course, during the day, I'm walking my dog, hanging out with my fiance, maybe even working out. But usually I do that Monday through Saturday. And then Sundays usually for, going to church, golfing, stuff like that. But again, I'm blessed with hunger, because I don't really need many hobbies. We might watch Grey's Anatomy, here and there. But I don't need, a 30-hour work week so I can go surf and do other stuff like that. That's pretty boring to me. So I love what I'm doing. I love making videos and, again, working a lot of hours, but it really doesn't feel like work. Obviously, there's trials and tribulations like any business, but overall, I love what I do, so I don't mind working that schedule. And of course, I want to have good work-life balance, but when you love what you do, it's almost like when you're resting, you can't wait to get back at it. And you can't wait for Monday morning. So thankfully, I'm at that place in my business, but that's pretty much it.
So I just wonder, you mentioned how you go to church on Sundays. So is that where your ultimate strength and belief comes from. Because when you talk about the blessing and also the lack, there is someone above it all, right? That is helping you. So, what will you tell someone who is in business already with all the challenges in and out? Do you think you being a Christian kind of help you talking to God? If my question is clear.
It is. No, being a Christian has helped my business because when you start to think everything that's happening to you is your fault, it's a dangerous place to be, because when you're successful, you take all the credit. You're like, oh, I'm this successful guy. I did this and I did that to make this happen. And then when things go bad, then you're like, okay, come on, God, like, why are you doing this to me? That's what other people do. That's why through the good and the bad, I'm like, hey, it's all part of God's plan for me and my family and my life. But it's also important to have faith that, hey, everything that's going on is for a specific reason. So yes, I can use the gifts that God blessed me with in terms of the work ethic, the skill set, the hunger. I can use those to the best of my ability with my time. But I also know at the end of the day, like, it's nothing without him and nothing without faith, because again, once you start to have that ego of, hey, everything is because of me, you're going to ride it through the good times. Once things start to get a little bumpy, you're going to question yourself, and it's just not a great place to be, in my opinion.
So that means in business, you don't have everything being so smooth, right? You have some of the days up and down. Okay. So that is just so nice. And there is so much hope talking to you, because it tells that there is hope somewhere. Down the line, you might start low, but there is hope. I can see you going so far. Any goals? What are your long-term goals? Are you there yet?
Yeah, it's a tough balance between thinking short-term and long-term. My long-term goal, which of course helps my business, but I really want to grow on YouTube, right? And of course, Instagram and TikTok. But I love YouTube because, look, it's a 32-minute interview at this point, and we're sharing so much information, so much, experiences and wisdom, that I love helping people learn from my mistakes, right? Like a client of mine, Christy Van, she's way bigger than I am on YouTube.
Yep.
She's still growing her business revenue wise, but she's bigger than me on YouTube, and she's been doing it for a year with my coaching and with my help. I've been doing it for 8 years, and so stuff like that makes me happy. So my long-term goal is to make more client success stories, and of course help people learn from my mistakes and just try to grow their business faster, because again, I went from nothing to something gradually, but I understand the stress that financial stress puts on your life, right? Just not really having an idea about money, not having enough. I felt that growing up. I know that's not the way people want to live. And with the way the economy is going, being a business owner in America is the best place to be. Because I was in Europe last week, in Paris and Italy, and they're nice places, but they also tax you at like 60%. Very high taxes. So as a business owner in America, the system is really set up for you to be successful. Right? Because you can take deductions, and there's SBA loans that are backed by the government. So in America, if you want to get out of that situation of not having, financial security or financial freedom, having your own business is the most tried and true way to do that. Right? Like I have in my interview with at Rolls Royce, picking up my Rolls Royce, I told the salesman, I'm like, hey, so out of all your clients, how many are doctors and lawyers and people with that traditional education? And he was like, none. He was like, all of them are like hustlers, just people that came to this country with nothing, or just people that grew up with nothing, but they had the hunger, they hustle, they build a business, and they are able to buy a Rolls Royce or a Bentley or these super fancy cars that, for them, a $250,000, $300,000 car is more than my parents made in 6 years growing up, right, in terms of household income. And so that's my goal, to build a channel to grow my message, because I feel like it can help a lot of people, especially when a lot of the time people, when they hear advice on YouTube, they're like, maybe that guy had rich parents, you know, or maybe that guy got like, maybe he just took over his parents' business, not about me, but other people on YouTube. But that's why I think once people hear my story and they see my background, they see the chronological order of it, it does give them hope that like, hey, if he can do it from his situation
Yes.
with time, then I can do it as well. But hopefully I can help people shorten the time it takes because they can learn from my mistakes by watching my videos.
That is awesome. You helped me. You encouraged me. So
Yeah, you're the
that
best
is
on
really
YouTube. You're so natural. Even me, sometimes I shoot videos and I'm like, oh, Alex, that took you like 2 hours. Like it's hard to really be natural on camera, but from day one, you've always killed the game. And so
oh, thank
I
you.
really appreciate
Thank
you
you.
having me on your channel.
I really, really like this. How will people reach out to you? Because I know some people like to do e-commerce, they don't know where to go. Others have some money that they just want something, a reliable person to kind of invest that in. How can they get hold of you?
Yeah, so my name is Alex Alboran. That's my website, alexalboran.com. And if you look me up on Instagram or just Google me, it's all of my YouTube channel, my Instagram, my website. So that'd be the best place to reach me if you're interested. But also, if you just want to watch my free videos on YouTube, yeah, it's Alex Alboran.
You should all follow Alex. Thank you so much again. And this is Elizabeth. Like I always say, look around you, see what the blessing will be. You never know. Okay? Take an action. It doesn't matter where you started from. Thank you so much, Alex. And until next time, we'll see you again. Okay, hopefully, we'll have you on again.
Absolutely.
Bye bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.